Good morning, Mrs. Fumilayo Adeyemi. You're welcome, ma.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Sister Toyosi. And good morning to all lawyers that are online now today to be a blessing to the community. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us your time for this one, because I know your time is very, very precious. So we really, really appreciate every minute, every second that you are going to give us here today to be a blessing to the people. And I also want to seize the opportunity to say good morning to our brother, Femi. He's a deacon, and is also, we call him Pastor Femi Ogunyemi, who has been very, very instrumental and been very helpful to make sure that everything runs smoothly today. He's in the background. You may not see him. And I also want to say good morning to Sister Folashade Obasanya, who works in the army, who has been a volunteer also. She has been a blessing, and she's been a blessing, and she will still be a blessing to everybody. So thank you so much. And I'd like to see this opportunity to welcome everyone who are already online, on Facebook, on YouTube, and joining us on Zoom. So you are welcome from wherever, all walks of life, where you are coming from. In particular, I want to welcome our pastors, our senior pastors in the church. Hope for You is a community initiative organization established to be a blessing to all churches in the Americas and beyond the Americas, and is also established to be a blessing not only to the RCCG members, the Redeemed Church of God members, but also to be a blessing to the whole world. So anybody that comes across our ways in all our churches all over in United States and in the Americas, we are there to bless them. So, however, as we are going to be a blessing today, the information we are going to provide today, either by O4U staff or by the moderators and our speakers on this platform, I just want you to know that it's just for general information purposes only. So these are the information from our speakers' views. They do not constitute any legal or other professional advice. You should consult your professional advisor for legal or other advice. But I know as you join us, as you'll be hearing more in this program, the organization that I represent is also ready to be a blessing in whichever way, that you may need our assistance. So we are going to show you the telephone number you will call. All these lawyers that we brought here today, they are reputable lawyers in the community and in the society. They've been a blessing, and they are going to be a blessing to you also. So we will give you the numbers you need to call if you have more questions. The Lord will bless you. So as the webinar continues, just be on lookout for more details. Now, I would like to hand over to our moderators to continue. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a blessing.
Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you for all you do. We would like at this point to introduce all our speakers for today. And we're going to start with our very own Pastor Enefa. That's what we know him as, that's what we call him, for those of you who know him. Pastor Enefa is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. He holds a master's degree in law and manages his law firm, Fenny and Fenny LLC, a boutique law firm located in Birmingham, Alabama. His practice areas include immigration law, church and nonprofit organization law, tax law, and mediation. Pastor Enefa also practices in Nigeria and is currently a provincial pastor and the general legal counsel with the RCCG Continental. Let's welcome him to today's Zoom meeting. You're welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry about that break. I'll be introducing Attorney Oluwasegun. He is a New York licensed immigration attorney with about 20 years exclusive immigration practice. He has handled complicated immigration cases, up to US Supreme Court cases, and has, by immigration litigation, established precedent cases on immigration law. He understands the core principles of the United States immigration law, and some of his public books available online are American Immigration Questions and Answer and A Handbook for Alien to Remain Legal in the United States. Please join me as we welcome today Attorney Olu Ashekun. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I also would like to welcome to today's webinar, Attorney Iheji Ugei. She is a practicing immigration attorney and currently an immigration counselor at the law office of Michael Nwuba in New York, a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Started his immigration practice as a volunteer attorney with the Legal Aid Society, representing the indigent immigrants. He has now practiced for over 24 years in every aspect of immigration law before USCIS, immigration courts, and the Board of Immigration Appeals. Let's welcome Attorney Ugei. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much.
And finally, I will be introducing Attorney Joab Okelo. He is a currently practicing attorney in New York State. His legal expertise includes knowledge and experience in the complexities of the state and federal administrative hearing and adjudication process. He has represented clients in a range of legal matters, including immigration law, family law, real estate law, landlord and tenant law, criminal law, personal injury law, and workers' compensation law. His immigration practice spans over 205 years and has included representing clients on specific areas of immigration law, which includes family immigration, asylum, and those in removal or deportation proceedings. Join me as I welcome Attorney Joab Okelo. You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to look at a small video that will tell us a bit more about Hope for You. A lot of people are not so familiar with what Hope for You does. Hope for You has been in the RCCG Americas for so many years. And this small video we're going to watch will tell us and bring us to speed about certain things that Hope for You does. So let's stay tuned as we watch the video in a minute or two. Thank you.
of pre-pandemic levels. And starting May 1st, Delta will no longer block middle seats.
We know that travel was up in the month of March, more so than it had been since the beginning of this pandemic. We know that right now we have a surging number of cases.
The CDC's travel guidelines issued Friday remain cautious and limited, targeting only the 17% of the population now fully vaccinated.
You are vaccinated.
We do apologize for the audio.
Thank you once again. Bye.
Well, I do apologize for the audio in that video, but I believe you saw some of the things that were streamed. Hope for You takes care of the social aspect. You know, it took care of disaster relief victims. We take care of the poor. Hope for You takes care of so many things in the community, and it does so from the generous donations of churches and individuals all over America. We will play that video again sometime during the program. I'm sure at that time we are going to have better quality. I'd like to hand over to my co-presenter, Toyosi, to start the seminar proper. Go ahead.
Thank you. Once again, we're sorry for the audio. We will dive right into the questions now and invite our lawyers to answer. The first question is for lawyer Enefa. The Biden's administration immigration policy is much different from President Trump's, and a bill has been sent to the federal legislation. What are the major points of that bill, and in what ways does it impact immigrants? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Kudos to Hope for You for putting this together. And I also want to appreciate all of my colleagues with your resumes. It's being in the presence of immigration law realty. And thank you for your time and for what you do. I know we'll be calling on you again and again and again as we try and get these questions answered. Now, the Biden bill, it's a whole lot, but I would just pick about 5 or 6 salient points that concern our immediate community. And I know my colleagues online would expound and add to whatever I have to say. The first thing I want to say is that the bill creates what is known as an LPI status, kind of a new status that allows for non-documented people to become documented. And it allows a 6-year card, the LPI card, to be given to them, renewable for another 6 years. Now, let me back up a little bit. Whatever we have to say about the Biden bill, please understand that it is temporary in terms of the fact that as it goes through the legislature, there may be changes as it goes back and forth between the Senate and the House of Representatives. There may be changes, but generally from what we have seen, these are the salient points. One, an LPI status to take care of those who are undocumented. It gives an initial 6-year term, renewable for another 6 years. The beautiful thing is that after 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. Now, this status also allows you to join the military. And over here in Birmingham, I've been advising a lot of people in our community in Alabama to join the military because most people in our community will join as officers. And when you're in the military, of course, it's there's a shorter path to citizenship for those who are in the military. And it allows you to adjust to become a lawful resident after 5 years of being on LPS, sorry, not citizenship. That's the first thing. Now, the key thing here I want to advise is that you must pay your taxes. And so I'm advising a lot of people, get a tax ID number and make sure that your taxes are up to date. Now, the second major thing that it does is that it provides a pathway for those who are on DACA, that's those undocumented children, the DACA status that was created by President Obama way back in 2017, 2018. And it allows them, again, a pathway, as it were, to get a green card and a pathway to citizenship. Now, the third area that I want to quickly mention is that it also creates a pathway for those who are on temporary protected status, TPS. People like my good friends from Haiti, the country that is special to me because I spent time there as a missionary. Liberia, for instance, so it allows for them, to go ahead and file for an LPR status and onwards onto citizenship after a while. Then I also want to mention, because I know I have just a few minutes, I want to mention something that we have seen, and that has to do with those who have a criminal record, especially if you have a record that has not been expunged. And the bill allows for expungement of convictions and then says that with that expungement, you can go ahead and get any one of these benefits that we're talking about, whether you're undocumented or you're on TPS or you are on any other status that is allowed by the bill. Then we also noted in the bill that there's a modification concerning naturalization, which I think I should bring to our notice also. Now, previously, you could only get citizenship after 3 years of being married to a US citizen or after 5 years of being on a green card. But now there's this subtle amendment that says, oh, if you are legally resident for 3 years before you get a green card, then you can then become a citizen only after 3 years and not after 5 years. So there's a whole lot, like I said, in the bill, but these are just, for instance, there's the part of it that applies to agricultural workers and all, but we are looking at what applies to our immediate community, and these are some of the salient things. Now, quickly, before I turn it over to my colleagues, the question I've been asked over and over again is, how do we prepare for this? Now, the bill, the initial exposition of the bill had a cutoff of January 1, 2020, that it should have been here by that time. But the new one that we are seeing now is talking about January 1, 2021. So that means that you have to establish that you have been here in the United States before that date. Now, looking at previous, what we call amnesty bills, we want to go back, and then the DACA bill also, we want to go back 5 years to establish that I've been in this country for 5 years. I came in, I was either documented or undocumented, but I've been here for 5 years. Now, how do we do that? Now, the question I usually advise is, look, keep your children's school records to show that you've been here for this long. Utility bills, even junk mail that was sent to you at a particular address, anything just to establish that I've been in this country. We envisage that the bill will end up saying something like 5 years before you can file. Now, again, this is a assumption. This is not, we don't know yet exactly what the bill will end up with. But from past experience, I usually advise, go back 5 years. So begin to collate whatever evidence you can get to establish that I've been here for 5 years preceding that time. Make sure you have the second thing is make sure you have your I-94. For those who came in a lot earlier, the white card that is stapled to your passport. For those who came in not too long ago, you can go online and get a copy of your I-94. Check your record. If you have any criminal convictions, please go ahead and get an expungement so that you can prepare for what the bill finally come up with. If you haven't paid taxes, please get a tax ID number and then go ahead and pay your back taxes so that you'll be ready. So in a nutshell, as it affects our immediate community, these are some of the salient things that we should be looking at. I will turn it over to my colleagues.
Thank you very much, sir, for that explanation. That seemed with a lot of benefits for a lot of undocumented. But I just wanted to ask quickly before we go to the next question. When you say undocumented, there are many categories of undocumented. Can you expatiate on that, please? When you say undocumented, sir?
Now, you're undocumented if you came in, for instance, without being inspected. Maybe you came in through the border, you were not inspected, or you came in, you were inspected, or you came in with a status and you've gone out of status. That's what, in this sense, I'm using the phrase undocumented generally to mean anyone who does not have legal status in the country. You've overstayed your visa, and things like that.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question goes to Lawyer Asheku. Well, immigrants cannot successfully work in the United States without work authorization given by the US government. Many right now have been waiting to get their work authorization approved, why does it take so long? And what are the challenges people usually face in obtaining work authorization, having in mind the various classes of applicants, students and so on? Please, can you shed some light on that?
Thank you for the question. When you talk about work authorization, there are different categories for anybody in the United States to get work authorization. So how long the process takes depends on which category you are applying under. It also depends on whether or not the application was processed correctly, because we see a lot of people apply for work authorization under a wrong category. Prior to the last administration, immigration used to kind of turn a blind eye on errors in application. But since the administration of President Trump, any little error could cause a significant delay. It could even cause a total rejection of employment authorization. For example, if an application for work authorization requires you to submit your application to a particular office, a particular location, if you submit it to a different office, during the past administration, they will just forward the application to the right office. But since the Trump administration, your application may likely be rejected, or they may not even work on it at all. So you may have your application sitting there for several months. Let me give you a typical example. There's a category called C9. C9 means that you have a pending adjustment application. However, it is not every category of application that qualifies under C9. It is not everybody who have a pending application for adjustment can file for work authorization at the same location. For example, somebody who is applying for work authorization based on a pending VAWA petition, they are supposed to send their work authorization application directly to Vermont Service Center, where the VAWA application is pending. But if you send your work authorization to a logbook facility where other C9 applications go to, your application may end up staying there for over 1 year. Whereas if the application is sent to the right place, you could get your work authorization within 2 to 3 months. So it depends on a number of factors. Now, it is not everybody that is eligible for work authorization. Before you can apply for work authorization, you must have eligibility category. You must have a reason, a basis for work authorization. If you have a pending application for adjustment, you will be eligible for work authorization. If you have a pending asylum application that has been pending for more than 150 days, if it's an application submitted to immigration or what is called affirmative application, you are eligible for work authorization. If you are in removal proceedings, your application must have been pending for at least 180 days. During Trump administration, they attempted to extend it, but I believe that it has just been reversed back to normal now. So you have to, your application must have been pending for at least 180 days, which is 6 months. That is if you have an asylum application pending. Again, if you are, some people may have been arrested by immigration. So if you were released on bond, you may not be eligible for work authorization. But if you are released on order of supervision, you will be eligible for work authorization. Those who are on student status, they are not eligible for work authorization because students are only allowed to work maximum of 20 hours per week on campus, only on campus. They cannot work outside campus. So they are not eligible for work authorization except on completion of their studies. When they complete their studies, they will be eligible for what is called OPT, optional practical training. That will give them work authorization for 1 year. Again, employment-based petitions may also be eligible for work authorization. Non-immigrant work petitions like H-1B, R-1, they are employer-specific. They may be eligible for a work authorization, but they are employer-specific. They can only work for the specific employer that petitioned for them. So it is not everybody who is eligible for work authorization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. I will hand over to Toyosi.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. Going forward, I would be asking lawyer Ogenyi this question. Why does it take so long for the USCIS to respond to applications? We understand that last year was difficult because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Everything became slow, but things have started opening up, but a lot of people that have put in their applications are still waiting to get either feedback from USCIS. Is it because of the type of applications or because there is something wrong with the application? Over to you.
Thank you. Let me start by saying thank you to Hope for You for this opportunity, and also to appreciate my colleagues on the panel. It's an honor being on this panel with all of you. So coming to a length of time to get a response from USCIS, you did make a point. In the past immediate year, due to COVID, there's been a lot of delay in processing because most governmental offices, even private ones, had skeletal functioning. Not everyone could come in. Even in the scheduling of people to appear before them, they really cut down on the numbers of people that could appear. Yesterday, I actually saw on the banner on the uscis.gov that they are apologizing and saying, we have a backlog, we're experiencing delays, or we're working on it. But on the one hand, there's that backlog that it's causing delay. On the other hand, is one of the things that my colleague mentioned. If your application went to the wrong place, if you had filed at the wrong place, a lot of times it might take them a while. If the officer, the duty officer is handling the matter, who receives your petition or your application, might forward it, or they might just not do anything about it, or they reject it. And I find that it takes them a lot of time to reject. You know, I always expect that if it's wrong, turn it around and send it back right away. And most times it takes them 3 to 6 months to even reject an application that was not properly filed. Another thing is, whereas before, you know, when you put in an application and then you have like blank missing questions that you didn't answer. If you notice, the application form will tell you complete everything. Let there be an answer for everything, or you know, it might cause delay or it might cause a rejection. So when you don't complete your form completely, it causes delays as well. Sometimes they would, you know, send you a request, you know, for information and ask you to properly complete that page. I've seen them just send an RFE to say, this page is not properly completed, refill this application, this particular page, and send it back to us. Or sometimes they tell you to resubmit that particular application or petition back to them. So that causes delay as well. Of course, if you haven't attached the right fee, you know, I remember there was a time when people would have encountered people who would send back an application for renewal of work authorization. And whereas they had paid the 1,225 on the 485, they sent a fee. And so what happens? It takes a while with USCIS, and they return it back to you again to say, you don't need to pay a fee for this. So all of this adds up to cause delay with processing, you know, and then also depends on the type of application you're putting in. For example, right now, there are a lot of pending VAWA petitions. And one of the reasons is because VAWA has not yet been reauthorized. When it expired in around 2016, the House reauthorized it, but Senate didn't. So a lot of those petitions, in as much as they're receiving them, they're keeping them, they're waiting to, you know, hoping that at some point it will be reauthorized. And the proposed bill by Biden, you know, is removing a whole lot of loopholes that came in during the Trump era. If that law passes, it's going to speed up VAWA processing and, you know, the applications. More so, the application, the work authorization applications under VAWA 485 applications, as my colleague said, a lot of times they've gone to the logbox, and so they're not being processed. And then when you call logbox will direct you to Vermont, and Vermont is not even responding to calls on applications under VAWA. So you have to be sure that with particular to the program you're applying for, you have sent it to the right location, you've accompanied it with the right fee, you've completed your forms, and you have mailed it to the right location. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, ma. Yes, it does answer the question. I would leave it over to Pastor Stephen to continue with the questions. Thank you.
Okay, this question goes to lawyer Okelo. Many applicants, you know, seek asylum in the U.S. as a pathway to citizenship. What must an asylum seeker prove to have a good chance of obtaining, you know, a green card, or is there another status usually given to asylum seekers? So what do I have to prove as an asylum seeker? A lot of people come and say, okay, I hear that asylum is a way I can get in. Can you shed some light on that, please?
Thank you very much. I would like to first begin by thanking the organizers and my colleagues in the panel. Yes, asylum is a very complicated case. Just to give it to make people understand it in the simplest language, it's a protection that the United States government gives to certain people who have entered the country and have a fear of going back to their countries. The fear is that they would be harmed or killed or maimed in many ways. And it's not for everyone who has suffered who fears going back. It's very specific for certain people. That's why usually you need an experienced immigration practitioner to evaluate whether one is qualified for asylum. It started basically to protect people who feared political persecution to go back to those countries where they came from. And it has expanded over the time to other forms of fear that one may have before they go back to, if they were to be sent back to their countries. As opposed to a refugee asylum, you have to be inside the United States to apply for it. And it is very, you have to show very clearly that that you fear that persecution if you were to go back. And there is what you call the affirmative asylum. You can apply for asylum before you get into any contact with the immigration people. Fill up a form and apply for it. Or if you were to be in removal proceeding or deportation proceeding, then you can also apply for it at that point. The US, a lot of people used to apply for asylum after they've been put on removal or deportation proceeding, and there was a feeling that it was being abused. So they kind of changed the rules that you need to apply for it within the year that you come into the United States. Because some people were applying for it after being here for 10, 15 years, and the issue was, why didn't they apply for it earlier? So they put in a provision that you need to apply for it within the year, and or you have to show that the situation in your country has changed since you came, so that now, if you were back, you would be subjected to a level of persecution. And the persecution usually has to be by a government or by a very powerful force that the government cannot control. And it has to be based on very clear reasons. For example, if it has to be maybe because of your political affiliation, the government is against your political beliefs and affiliations, or could be religious. It could be because you are a member of a certain ethnic community or tribe that is being targeted by the government for persecution, or religion, or any other community that is not protected by the government, and you don't have any redress to that government, to the national government. So it's very fact specific. So, and it's not general. You can't just claim that people in my country are being persecuted, or a lot of people are being persecuted. It has to be, you have to show that the persecution is directed at you or your family members or your group. And you can do it by testimony, but usually they need some form of evidence that this kind of persecution is going on. And the evidence can take upon a lot of, you could have newspaper evidence, you could have reports, you could have experts testify that this kind of thing is going on. So it is a very complicated thing, and usually you need an attorney before you could apply for it, because what happens is a lot of people apply for asylum thinking that they'll get the work permit, and then it turns out that the asylum case is not valid. And usually if you applied for it affirmatively and you are interviewed and they find you don't have any basis for the asylum, then they refer you to removal proceedings. And this has caused a lot of people a lot of headache. There's a lot of people who we find if they had good legal advice, they should not have applied for asylum. But since they did, they end up in removal proceedings. And now they find themselves in a situation where they don't have any relief at the court, at the immigration court, and most of them end up being deported or removed from the country. So it's a very complex area of immigration law, and it requires close consultations with an attorney before anybody would attempt to apply for one. Once you're on removal, also you need an attorney to look at your fact situation and see if you are eligible for that kind of relief. Because once you are on removal proceeding, you are allowed to show why you shouldn't be removed to your country. And one of the things you can assert at that point is that I'm afraid if I go back to my country, I will be persecuted. So here again, you need an attorney to evaluate your case very carefully and see if there's any basis for applying for asylum.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for that. We want there's so many. We have a lot of questions coming in from Facebook, from the Zoom link. But before we dive into the questions, we want Lawyer Shekun to please explain more on the new immigration law. We want you to expatiate more. That is one question. Can you please just dive more into that? Thank you, sir.
You said on the new immigration law.
I mean the proposed immigration bill.
Well, I believe that my colleague has done a very good job explaining the proposed immigration bill. What I just want to say is that it is premature at this time to actually be going into extensive discussion of something that can still change. Because even if you look at the Dreamers Act, the version passed by the House of Representatives is significantly different from the version that the Senate is considering right now. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it is premature at this time to talk about it, to go into the details of something that can change overnight. But before I go on, I just want to quickly add to what my colleague has explained regarding asylum. I want to, because asylum is one of the most dangerous immigration applications. And unfortunately, a lot of people have no idea that it is one of the most dangerous immigration applications. To my knowledge, there are only 4 situations where somebody can be permanently ineligible for immigration benefit. One, if somebody committed aggravated felony, it may lead to permanent bar. Even if you're already a permanent resident, you can still be deported. Two, if somebody submits a frivolous asylum application, in fact, if you go to the asylum application form I-589, if you look at page 9, there is a warning there that was written in bold letters, so that there is no way you can say I didn't see it. It was written in bold letters. The warning says that if you submit a frivolous asylum application and immigration determines that your application is frivolous, you will be permanently ineligible for any other benefit under the Immigration and Nationality Act. That is a permanent bar. Now, the fact that your application was denied does not mean that your application is frivolous. It is only considered frivolous if immigration can establish that your story did not happen, the whole thing was fabricated. That is considered frivolous. So if it is determined that it's a frivolous application, it leads to permanent bar. So for that reason, I believe that it is very, very important to know that one should not file a frivolous application. Before I explain further, let me give the other two things that can lead to permanent bar. There is something called 204C, section 204C of the immigration law. If immigration makes a determination that somebody has entered into a marriage for the purpose of evading the immigration law, or somebody has attempted or conspired to enter into a marriage for the purpose of evading the immigration law, such a person, no petition shall be approved for them. In other words, if you engage in fake marriage and immigration find out, even if you marry the daughter or the son of the president after, no future petition can be approved. It's a permanent bar. The last but not the least is certain significant drug offenses or terrorist-related grounds. So those 4 grounds constitute permanent bar to immigration benefit. Now back to the asylum. A lot of people apply for asylum without an idea of what asylum means. My colleague explained a lot about what asylum means, but I want to do it in a layman's language. The way I explain it to clients in my office, I want to explain it in a layman's language. There's something called sovereignty. Every country in this world is sovereign, and every country will do anything to protect its sovereignty. Now, every country in the world have a form of government. It doesn't matter what type of government, whether it's capitalist, whether it's socialist, it doesn't matter. Every government have a form of, every country have a form of government. Every government have 2 major responsibilities. The first responsibility is to protect its sovereignty, and that is why they have soldiers. The second responsibility is to protect its citizens, and that is why they have the police. Now, if something is happening to you in your country, if your life is in danger in your country, it is the responsibility of your country to protect you. It is not America's responsibility to come and protect you. That is the number one mistake, number one error that a lot of asylum applicants make. It is not the responsibility of American government to protect you. It is the responsibility of your own government to protect you. Now, if the government that is supposed to protect you, if that government is the one trying to harm you, then and only then can you now apply for asylum, because the government that is supposed to protect you, if that government is the one trying to harm you, then your fate is decided. There is nowhere to run to. So that is why American government can now protect you. But then it is not even in every situation, because in some legitimate situation, your government may even have a legitimate reason to harm you. For example, if you commit a crime, it is the duty of the government to have you arrested, to have you detained. And in countries where torture is allowed, it is the responsibility of the government to torture you to get information out of you. So you cannot go and commit a crime and then run to America and apply for asylum and say, oh, my government is running after me. That is not the basis of asylum. In order to be eligible for asylum, you have to show that, one, it is the government of your country that is after you, or someone that the government is unable or unwilling to control. That is the person that is after you. That is the number one requirement for asylum. Secondly, you have to show that the reason that the government is going after you, or the government is harming you or want to harm you or has harmed you, is at least one of 5 recognized grounds. It must be on the basis of race, one of them, race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So you have to show that at least the reason why the government is trying to harm you is on the basis of at least one of those grounds: race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Now, even after you show all that, you still have to apply for asylum within 1 year of entry into the United States. So it is very, very important that we understand what asylum is. A lot of people apply just to get work authorization. Of course, you will get work authorization, but you may end up in removal proceedings and you may end up being deported, especially if your application is determined to be frivolous. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, sir, for that explanation. We have learned a lot since we started. There are so many questions already, and we will ask those questions, but we'll go on a quick break, during which I believe that the video on Hope for You is ready to play. And then we'll have a few announcements before we resume question and answer again. So if the technical department can please play the video on Hope for You again, and so we're going on a quick break now, and then we'll come back. Thank you.
At the Hope for You, we hope to move forward after years of living. Mission is to render an excellent version of holistic social services. Here at the Hope for You, we helped her to move forward after years of living in unbearable cold and fear of the worst. We are the community outreach arm of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, North America operations. Our vision is to become the icon of hope for the hopeless, and our mission is to render an excellent version of holistic social services that guarantees hope and self-reliance to the community all over the world. Our programs focus on empowerment, ending poverty, eradicating social injustice, and building healthy communities. See our services in the community. Over 300 RCCG churches nationwide were served with various community services. In 2018, over $5 million worth of products and building materials were given out. We serve Greenville and 17 cities in the Hunt County area. Through Hope for You, RCCG North America Operations offers these programs: feeding and clothing programs, disaster relief and training, leadership training, partnership and community development for RCCG churches, and interagency collaboration. Support us today by making your tax-deductible donation. Contact us through email at info@hopeforyou.org or reach us by phone at 817-897-4623. You can also reach us at our website at www.hopeforyou.org or www.rccgna.org.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Eziashi, and I'm a member of RCCG Household of Faith Arlington. I'm recording this video just to testify, and as a benefactor of World Vision and Hope for You. I was blessed with a brand new dining set as I've just gotten my own place and needed furnitures. Just wanted to say thank you guys, and God bless you and greater heights in Jesus' mighty name. Thank you once again. Bye.
Hello, you're welcome. You're welcome back again to this immigration webinar. I believe that we have learned so much already. But just before we go on to ask more questions or answer more questions, because there are so many questions already, I want us to know that Hope for You is a nonprofit organization. And like we said from the video you just watched, we help the less privileged, we help those in need. We provide not just food, we provide clothing, we provide furniture. Some people testified of the fact that in their very low times, Hope for You was there to help them and meet them at the point of their need. I'd like to encourage you, please, you can contact us to know how you can be part of Hope for You, how you can donate to Hope for You. And Hope for You has a website. You can check the website and see more about Hope for You and how you can be a partner, especially if you are a church. Please partner with Hope for You and let us touch our community. I also want to say that you can please subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook pages. Hope for You has a YouTube channel and it has a Facebook page. If you are watching on YouTube right now, please subscribe, because there are so many such webinars that Hope for You will bring to you in the future. As a matter of fact, this month, March, we are still having another webinar on health. And you will get to know that before the end of this webinar. All right, so please subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook, subscribe to it, and you know, you will get to know everything that Hope for You has to offer you. The hotlines are on the screen. You can you know, call any of these numbers, email us, or visit us at www.hopeforyou.org. And again, after this webinar, if you want to reach any of these lawyers that were gracious enough to give us their time, the hotline there is there, and we will give you their contacts and you can reach them personally. All right, so I just said we should clear that out. Like we said Pastor Fumi said at the beginning of this program, this is not a consultation. So if you need to know about your specific issue, you need to contact a lawyer. And these lawyers are those that you can also contact. So you can call the hotline and we can give you details of the lawyers and all that. So thank you once again for joining us as we dive straight right to more questions, I'd like to hand over to my country.
All right, thank you so much.
To ask the next question. Go ahead, Toyosi.
All right, thank you so much. We will be diving into the questions, and this first question is from Grace Chapel. The question is for lawyer Ogenyi. How does a man with two years working permit based on pending asylee benefit from the new Biden bill? Does the person need to start counting the 5 years for his green card, or the 2 years is counted? Or does he need to obtain the temporary protected status for 5 years? I don't know if you get that question, man.
I do, but just as my colleagues have said, there's no point in our debating what's still a speculation and trying to pull our hair out over it. Let's wait. Let's see what versions or what the provisions will be when it's passed. And then at that moment, you consult a lawyer and ask all the questions, because I can give you an answer now based on the proposal, and then what comes out at the end of the day is not what has been proposed, And on that note, I really also would want to warn us, because I'm seeing a whole lot of organizations and platforms asking people to come and pay so they can be prepared and be ready for the bill. There's nothing passed. It's still a proposal. It's still being reviewed, so you should not be paying anyone at this time, because nobody knows what the final provision of the bill will be. So, don't pay anyone, but as Lawyer Sheiko and Lawyer Nifa have said, just, you be prepared. If you have criminal issues that you need to purge from your record, work on that now. If you've been employed and not paying your taxes, well, catch up, pay your taxes. You can file taxes for years that have gone by that you didn't file. Go ahead and file them, and make sure you don't fall into any new criminal activities and all that. Keep records, hospital records, school records for your children. So you get ready, be ready to prove that you've been here prior to January 1, 2021, but the specific regulations and provisions and how it applies to each individual, nobody can actually, speak confidently on it, because the law hasn't passed.
All right, thank you so much, Ma. I'll be handing over to Pastor Stephen now to ask the next question.
Thank you, Toyosi. This question is for Pastor Enefa. Pastor Enefa, there are so many students who come into the country and they study in the US and are hoping, after their studies, they would have a path to citizenship or to stay. And you see some students, they do have the 1 year work permit that was talked about earlier. And then after that, they don't know what to do. Is there something they can do? I hear people saying that if you're a science student, you can do this. If you're an art student, is there something they can do? Because I know a lot of students who are caught in this will be watching this. What do you advise students? Or how can they even start helping themselves as students?
Thank you for the question, Pastor Stephen. And I'm sure my colleagues will weigh into it. It depends on what they came in to study. Now, here in Alabama, we have a very high number of graduate students. And so most of the cases that I have to deal with here are with graduate students. And I typically tell them, well, there are certain things that you can do if you can't get employment that will file for you. Maybe a company to do a H1 for you, or they'll take you under their wings and all of that. And I advise those who are in graduate school, I advise them to do a lot of research to prepare themselves for an NIW application in the future. So when you're getting into graduate school, don't go there and play around and waste your time doing things that will not help you in the future. You know, or like someone told me, oh, I will just marry somebody and all that. I mean, my brother, Pastor Shekun, had stated clearly that that pathway is fraught with a lot of danger. So I advise them, go ahead and do a lot of research. Try and get some publications. When they invite you for poster presentations, make sure you attend. Go attend conferences, pay close attention to your studies and all that. Now, when you graduate, especially for those who are doing a PhD program, during the program, you can go ahead and file a national interest waiver application for yourself whilst you're still exploring other options, you know, to see if anybody would employ you and then file for you. But there's some, I know a particular case of a lady who were exploring this NIW option for her. The paperwork had been filed and all. And then all of a sudden, where she was working, they turned around and said, oh, we want to retain you after all your paperwork is through. And so now we're going to file a H1 for you, and then we'll go on and get you a green card if you remain with us. And so that's for graduate students. I usually advise them, pay particular attention to research, and please do research that is beneficial to the United States. You don't just go and do research on maybe the climatic change in Ogbomoso in Oyo State. You know, it's not beneficial here, and so you find it very difficult to establish that you are required, the US should require you to stay here because you can add to the society here. Now, for those who are undergrads and they don't have a STEM, they're not on STEM, which would give them 3 years of OPT. Again, the advice I give them is, look, finish your program. When you're done with your program, if you don't want to go back home, you don't have to do anything fraudulent. You can go on to graduate school. Because like we know, so long as you're in school, you are legit until something comes up. Now, what exactly can come up in terms of employment and all depends, of course, on this courses that you do. Here in Alabama, what we have seen in Mississippi, what we have seen is that there are a lot of these government establishments that need people, and they usually would accept foreigners into these establishments. Like we do have a client, for instance, who is working with the health department in one of these states. But the problem is that a lot of these states are not aware of immigration provisions or how to go about them, especially the states in the deep south where we are. Most people are not, they don't know what to do and all that. So I advise them, I usually advise my clients, listen, just tell them that they should sign all the papers and all of that. And then I can come in and explain to them that this is how the process is going on. But if you insist, then we're going to have, insist that you do certain things, we might have problems. Let me give you a good example. I had a client who, he was employed, he was working well, happy with his salary. Then they wanted to file for him. They could not find a particular, they're trying to do the labor certification for him. And so what they could find increased his salary astronomically. And he wouldn't accept anything less. He kept insisting that, well, if the labor certification says that's what he's entitled to, then they have to pay him that. And so at the end of the day, they just turned around and fired him, because his job was not something that they could not find anybody else to do. So my candid advice for a lot of people in graduate school, please do something that you can file for yourself on. And then secondly, for those who are undergrads, graduate, you can remain in school until you can find something else that you can do. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for the detailed answer. This question is will be directed to lawyer Olu Ashekun. The This person says, I have a relative who came into the US with an F1 student visa over 10 years ago. After his student visa expired, he got married to a Black American, but during the immigration process, the lady withdrew the petition and told the immigration officer that the marriage was fake. A year later, he got married to a Nigerian American US citizen, but for a real marriage. Now, they've been married for over 3 years. Fortunately, he's been able to get his work authorization every year, but USCIS would not just approve his green card. They've met several immigration lawyers to no avail. He's asking that what options are available for this situation. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you for that question. I believe that I already answered that question previously. Section 204C makes the new petition unapprovable. Except the law changes, there is really no way that petition could be approved. I said it earlier that even if his new wife is the daughter of the president, it's not going to change anything. The only thing that can change is if the law change. And you and I know that only Congress have control over that. No lawyer have control over that. That is the language of the law as at today. Now, does that mean that it doesn't have any option? Not entirely, yes. Every situation is different. So you may, for such a person, you may need to consult an experienced immigration attorney to look at other options. But as far as getting the petition for your wife approved, the only way it could be approved is if the law change, especially since the prior petitioner has confessed to the fraudulent marriage, is almost impossible. I don't want to use the word impossible because I'm not God, but based on the law, it is contrary to law and it is unlikely to be approved.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Pastor Stephen.
Okay, thank you, sir. This question is for Lawyer Okello. Someone asked that can someone with a pending I-485 to travel out of the country without penalty or delay? That's how the question was framed. I don't know if you understand what he's saying. That can someone with a pending I-485 travel out of the country without penalty or delay? With a pending I-485. You are muted, sir. We can't hear you.
Thank you for the question. Sorry about that. Yes, when you have I-485 pending, you have to be very careful. And like in all cases, every case is different, and you need to consult with an attorney. And you should always have an attorney doing these kinds of things. But if you need to travel, then you really need to consult with an attorney to assess your particular situation and see if you can travel. Usually, those who have a 485 pending should also could also apply for advance parole when they're applying for their work permit. And the advance parole is to allow you in when you're coming back, because based on your situation, most people apply for 485 when their visas have already expired and they don't have any status. And sometimes even if you have a status, the fact that you applied for a 485 may change that. That's why it is very important to consult. And it's all, even if you have an advanced parole, it's only supposed to be used in an emergency situation, and very sparingly. So my advice is that if you have a pending 485, you can only travel if you have an advance parole, or if and only in emergency situation. And I would not recommend people just traveling for leisure or for things like that. And always consult with your attorney. Like I said, every situation is different, and I don't want to give an answer that may not apply to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that answer. Go ahead, Toyosi.
Thank you. Okay, this question is for lawyer Iyenji Ugenyi. If you filed for Form I-30 and are yet to get an acceptance approval from USCIS after 1 year, is it okay to file for Form 1485 and the other required forms for adjustment of status, or must you wait for the approval of Form I-130 before filing for adjustment of status? Lawyer Igenyi.
That's fine. You're doing good. Thank you. So, as a matter of practice, most lawyers will put in your I-130 along with your I-485 and your application for work authorization at the same time. But if for any reason you had filed the I-130 and you didn't put in the 485 and work authorization application, you can do it. You can do it. You know, you can file it without receipts that you have a pending I-130. You know, and one of the reasons why it actually is a better practice to file it all together is, and have them adjudicated together, is that for your I-130, before the approval of the I-130, they will examine the marriage, you know. So if they examine the marriage and approve it, and then you file the 485, the marriage will be re-examined again in order to approve the 485. So you're better off, you know, putting in all the applications and petitions together so that the marriage is examined one time for both petition and application, and then get the results at the end of that. So you don't have to wait after 130 to do 485. And if you've already done, you can still go ahead and put in the 485 and application for work authorization.
Thank you. Just to answer this quick question, somebody asked what is the YouTube channel and Facebook page for the organization. The YouTube channel is Up For You Media. You can just type on Facebook, on YouTube, and search for Up For You Media. And on Facebook, our name is Up For You NA. And on Instagram, our name is Up For You Inc. INC. When you type Up For You, our logo, the logo you can see on the screen, it will show you that is our page. Thank you. Over to you, Pastor Stephen, for the next question.
Before you go into the next question, can I quickly add to what my colleague just said? Because I just want to add that if you are in removal proceedings, you cannot file I-485 and I-130 concurrently. If you are in removal proceedings, you can only file. I know that this question is not very elaborate, so there is a lot of assumptions in answering the question. So for somebody who is in removal proceedings, you cannot file I-485 and I-130 concurrently. You can only file I-130 alone. And if your spouse, the petitioner, is not a US citizen, you cannot file them concurrently except visa is current for that category. So I just wanted to add that to the exceptional answer from my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer, sir. Questions are still coming in, and we still have some that have not been answered. So we'd like to try and see if we can, I'd like to please ask the panelists if they can keep their questions as brief as, their answers as brief as possible, so that we can ask as many questions as, of course, if you have to speak up, then you do. But okay, there's this question that came in. We talked about the fact that the new law is still pending before the Senate. I mean, before the legislature. Someone asked, how long are we to expect something? Maybe that person is not familiar with the process. Can somebody expect, how long are we to wait? This is to you, Lawyer Shekun. How long are we going to wait before we know when we can rely on this new bill? Are we going to wait 5 years? Are we going to wait 7 years? While we are waiting, what is going to happen to all our applications?
Thank you, moderator. I'm going to advise that maybe the moderators should kind of screen the questions. Questions that have been answered before should be taken out of the question. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is a speculative question. There is nobody, not even a congressman, can tell you this is when these laws are going to pass. Those are just speculation. The laws may be passed next month. It may not be passed throughout this administration. So that is not something anybody can tell you authoritatively. This is when it's going to happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you so much, sir. This is just a short question for Pastor Enefa. Somebody said thank you so much for answering in details for grad students. But then they're asking, does voluntary work count as OPT? Over to you, sir.
Short answer is yes. You can do voluntary work for your OPT. But I usually advise those who want to do that they may at some point have to show a source of income, how they have been surviving, depending on the future application that they may apply. But short answer is yes. We have signed off on quite a few people who at church volunteered, and we logged their hours and it served for OPT.
Okay, sir. Now to the main question for you. This person is asking that can someone with an expired green card still be able to enter the US? If not, what can be done to be able to come back into the US? This person is not specifying the reason why that happened. Over to you, sir.
Are you asking me, Pastor Sheku?
Yes, I'm asking you, sir.
Oh, me? Oh, well, you see, that will depend on how long they've been outside. It will depend on what they were doing there and why they allowed it to expire. It's just a whole lot. And like my colleagues have said, in such situations, it will be best to consult with an attorney on your own, concerning your own particular matter. For instance, there was one of the questions that I answered on the chat about somebody who was saying that they have a green card, they were in whatever country they were in, and because of COVID restrictions, the green card lapsed. And so the question is, what is their situation now? And I'd answered and said, the COVID pandemic is a worldwide pandemic, and USCIS recognizes that there were travel restrictions from certain countries. Countries locked their airways and wouldn't let people in and out and all that. So the immigration officers at the border would recognize that even when you apply for reinstatement or of your green card, they will recognize that it's not something, it was something that is beyond your control. Now, to piggyback off of what my colleagues have said, the danger we have in all of these things is to give a general answer and then somebody runs off with it in a particular situation. So please, this is just a caveat that we're trying our best to answer questions generally, but when you have a specific situation, everybody has a specific situation. So take the general answer and then look for a lawyer you can sit down with and to say, oh, look at my own peculiar circumstance. This is why my green card expired. This is why I couldn't file on time and all. And then you will get precise and concise legal advice on how to proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that answer. It was helpful. There is a question actually that I wanted to ask. This is actually based off of what I've heard people struggle with. The dependence of people with legal status. I think this question will go to Lawyer Ugenyi. Dependence of people with legal status, either R1 or F1 or things like that. When they want to apply for Social Security, for instance, and I understand there's a category of Social Security that is not work related. Is it that some people are given, some people are refused? Can dependents of those who are legally in the country, who are also legally in the country, can they have access to Social Security for non-work purposes? Because I know of a particular case where the person has applied, and they said because she's legally in the country as a dependent of, but her husband can work, she can't work. She has applied more than once, she was rejected. Is that how it is? Because I hear some states give, some states don't give. What exactly is the deal with that?
All right. First of all, Social Security Administration is a federal institution. So there's no way some states will give and some states won't give. They would have, a policy across board for every state because it's a federal institution. Now, if you're in the country and you are not allowed to work, chances are that the Social Security Administration will not be giving you a Social Security number. Back in the day, they gave everybody a number as long as you had a legal basis based on Social Security Administration regulations to get one. But these days, they're limiting their numbers, to only those who are eligible to work, So if you're not given the authorization to work and you're seeking for a number, chances are that they will not give it to you, But then again, it's always best for you to go and apply to Social Security Administration. They know the rules, they know all the caveats, they'll be able to answer, and give you a proper guideline as to whether you meet their eligibility requirements or not. But back in the day, yes, people got the not eligible for work number, but they're hardly issuing those numbers anymore. They're issuing rather either a straight one that you're a citizen or the one that says you must have a work authorization to use it. So apply to Social Security Administration. They have the better understanding of what their rules are, and they'll explain to you whether you qualify or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma, for that answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma, for that. This question is for Lawyer Oluwasegun. The question is, I'm not sure if you've answered, but it says, what are the steps required for applying for a green card from either a J1 or H1B? If you've answered the question, we can flip over it.
No, let me quickly do that. For a J1, there are two categories of J1. There are some J1s that requires you to go back to your home country for 2 years upon the completion of your program. And there are some J1s that allow you to apply for waiver of that 2-year residency requirement. So it depends on your specific situation. And there are some J1s that when they issue the J1 visa, they will specifically include a annotation in the visa that says that you are not, the 2-year foreign residency requirement is waived. So it depends on the specific situation that you are in. As for H1B, H-1B is what is called specialty occupation. It requires somebody to have at least a bachelor's degree and then have an employer who will sponsor a petition on your behalf. It is valid for 3 years. It is usually renewed for another 3 years. And if you have a labor certification or Form I-140 that has been pending for 1 year and above, then they can continue to extend the H-1B until whenever visa becomes available for your category. So that is H-1B and J-1.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Pastor Stephen.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that answer. Someone was asking, I think this question is, yes, you need an immigration lawyer. Somebody was asking that she has a niece with her who is above the age of adoption. Now, the niece, we don't know whether the niece is an American, or I guess you know it's not an American. Yes, you need an immigrant, you need a lawyer, and that lawyer will advise you. Let me just get that out of the way. This question is for lawyer Okello. It has somebody asked about under this new policy, the requirement for proof of income and all that as a basis on granting. I was listening to the news, and they said that those bases have been removed. And I think I also heard that even those that have been refused can also either reapply or they will look at their cases again. Now, that particular policy under the bidding administration, is that one an administrative thing already done, or does it have to wait for the bill that we've been talking about to be passed first? Because I know certain things are just executive decisions, some have to be backed by law. So that particular one, the one that has to do with those that take benefits, that took benefits under Trump and were refused or denied by virtue of those benefits, and bidding came and reversed it. Now, is that administrative, or do we still have to wait for the bill to be passed? Because somebody's asking around that that question.
Thank you for the question. They're asking about the public charge, the extra public charge requirements that were imposed by the Trump administration. Those were administrative, and they were taken to court, and the court held them for a while. And when the Biden administration came, they decided not to pursue the matter anymore, and so it's gonna go back to where it was before Trump. And this does not need any legislative action, because in the first place it was administrative, and then the next administration can overturn it. So it doesn't need to go back to the legislature, and we will continue with the old public charge rules the way they were before Trump. I hope that.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
If I can chime in to buttress what my colleague said, I think the question is asking those who have already gotten a denial because they had violated that rule, what are they supposed to do now? Should they reapply, or will USCIS administratively reopen their cases? I think on their website, they actually said reapply. They said if you had gotten denials, reapply. And I would want to think that maybe in these cases now, you would, one will have to reach out to them to see if they'll be waiving the fees for reapplication or something. But they're encouraging those who were denied under that old rule to reapply so that their matters can be reconsidered. And I would think maybe reopen, maybe file for a reopening of the case, you know, and say, okay, now based on your directive on your website, you know, we're seeking for a reopening of the matter so that it cannot be adjudicated under the old rule that was reinstated.
Okay, right. Thank you so much, Ma, for the additional answer. This question is for, I think, Pastor Enefa again. It's a student was asking if, as an international student in the United States, if they got the stimulus check, would they be required to pay it back to IRS, or it's just news and speculations everywhere? They want you to clarify on that. I think that's the question.
We had a webinar on this here in Alabama, and what generally speaking, students should not be entitled to it. I know several universities held met with the international students and spelled it out that you're not. But by the time they did that, a lot of students have collected the checks. And you and I know what happens when you have money in your account that you did not plan for. So students have collected the checks and spent it. And so, and of course, they don't have the resources to pay it back. Now, will the IRS come and get the police to come and arrest you and take $1,200 from your pocket? Very unlikely. But what I usually advise is, look, get into an arrangement with the IRS and begin to pay back. Typically, they will accept something as low as $50 a month because the amount of money involved, $1,200, is very, very small. Now we had a webinar for the first stimulus because it was an issue, and then the second one came, and the third one, and a lot of my friends collected the money because it showed up in their account. Now someone asked a question, and I think my colleague Ugain answered the question that if you collected that money, will they now deny your green card and deny your citizenship because you collected the money? Most unlikely. If it's a problem, then the typical thing that I have seen and experienced is that they would ask you to go have a conversation with the IRS, and then you enter into an agreement with them, make the first payment, and then come back to USCIS to say, I'm settling with the IRS, I've made a payment, and then they will let you go. So you just keep on making those payments. And so in a nutshell, that's what I would advise.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Please, like we said earlier, because I see a lot of very personal questions. This forum is not necessarily where you can ask very personal, specific questions. Okay, we cannot ask those. We're asking general questions that you may get knowledge on what to do, and then to be able to know that, okay, you can now go further to seek advice from an attorney. Somebody asked, because we've been avoiding certain questions, and the person asked, can you call the number provided to talk to? Yes, you can. The 1-800 number that was displayed earlier, and I think we'll display it again. You can call that number, and we can, provide details of the attorneys you can meet and all that. So just bear with us for those who have been asking very personal questions that are beyond the scope of what this webinar is for. Yes, so do bear with us. But I'm going to ask one here. The person said that the person had applied for an extension, a visa extension that has not been approved yet, but the person got a mail from USCIS requesting for, I guess, proof of how the person has sustained him or herself in the US. And the person is asking what documentation is usually required. Is it just a bank? Is it just a bank statement, or are there other documentation for that. This question was actually directed to Lawyer Sheku.
Thank you for the question. Based on experience, I want to believe that the RFE is actually asking for itinerary. When you apply for a non-immigrant visa and they give you, usually at the point of entry, most people tell them that they are here for vacation or here for some form of conference or whatever it is that they came for. Now, when you apply for extension, immigration want to know, okay, you've been here for the last 6 months. You want us to extend your stay here. Tell us, what have you been doing in the last 6 months? So that it is usually itinerary. So just list whatever it is that you have been doing. You can state it in a form of affidavit. If you have been volunteering in church, you state it. If you are sitting at home, you state it. If you've been attending conferences, whatever it is that you have been doing, that is all they need to know. That is all you need to state. And if you have evidence to back it up, then, for example, if you have been volunteering at a church, you can obtain a letter from the church to confirm that you have been volunteering at their location. So that is all they need to know. It is itinerary of what you have been doing since you came into the US.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. Go ahead, Toyosi.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering that question. This is more like a general question. For children who are not dreamers and were brought into the United States and have gone over the age of 18 with no work authorization and any of that, what are the steps that they can take to get their green card, or what options do they have?
Is the question directed to me?
Yes, sir.
That is actually the definition of dreamers. Those who are brought in as a child, that is the definition of dreamers. So for as long as you are brought in, well, I said earlier when I was talking about the Dreamers Act, that what the House of Representatives have right now, their own version of the law is different from the Senate version. One of the major differences is that for the House of Representatives, the version that they passed says that you must have been brought to this country while you are under 18 years. So it doesn't matter how long ago or how recent you came in, but you must have been brought in here before you turn 18. And you must have been physically present here in the United States as of January 1st of this year. So if you are brought in as a child, that's exactly the definition of dreamers. So you'll be eligible for Dreamers Act once it is passed into law.
All right, thank you, sir. To Pastor Enefa, quickly, can you please advise if O1A and O1B visa can be self-sponsored?
No, I think I answered that question previously. I think the requirement is that an employer has to file a 129, an I-129 for you for that particular category.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that answer. Let me see. There's somebody asked. This is for Lawyer Ashekun. Can a person file for a loss of legislation proceeding? I don't know what that means, but I guess the person knows what that meant. That the person lived 3 years with family and have not paid taxes, and the person does not have a work permit. Can the person know that, do I stand to risk a loss of legislation proceeding? I do not know what that means, but it was directed to you, Lawyer Sheku.
I think I'm in the same shoe as you. I don't seem to understand the question.
Okay, so let's leave that question. Can anyone change status from a J1 visa to green card after overstaying in the States for less than 180 days?
I think I answered question about J1. J1 is a visa category that requires the holder to go back to his or her home country for 2 years at the end of the program. So you can't even talk about adjustment except if you are exempt. Okay. Now, let's assume that the person asking this question is exempt. You see, every application that is employment-based requires that an applicant maintain legal status at the time the I-485 application is filed. Every employment-based application is different from family-based. However, there is something called 180-day portability rule. So it depends on the specific situation of this, the person asking this question. It's not a question that I can assure you that, yes, you will be able to adjust. So it depends on the specific situation, but you have this 180-day portability period. So if you are exempt from the 2-year foreign residency requirement.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We would like to encourage our viewers to please keep the questions coming in. Like we mentioned, there are so many personal questions that we cannot answer because this is just an informational session. But we would be giving you better information on how you can reach out to us, then we can transfer you to the lawyers so that they can answer your questions better. Right about now, we would be I don't know if we're ready with the flyer. Okay, Pastor Stephen, can you go on with the next question on your end while I quickly resolve this? Thank you.
Okay, while we wait for the, okay, it's coming up.
At really, really low prices, keeping food on the table, with all the stuff they've been offering, even the toys these kids have been getting, diapers for this one, stuff we never thought we could ever get. Yeah. We've been able to get here. We've been really thankful for all that, especially the community that they're building here. All the, everybody's like a big, huge family here, so we all take care of each other and they help us, we help them, and just been really grateful for it. Thank you, hope for you. We've been grateful.
All right, once again, we are informed, this is Hope for You. Hope for You is a charitable organization, and we reach out to our communities all over the United States, and our account information is shown right now on the screen. We're looking for sponsors. We appreciate your donations so we can reach out to more people and bless our communities. I don't know, Pastor Stephen, do you still have more questions on your end?
No, but we'd like to appreciate our sponsor, one of our sponsors for today, from the office of Lawyer Michael Nwaba. His contact details are there. He's one of the sponsors for this program. Thank you, sir. God bless you. God will continue to increase you, and we appreciate your sponsorship. It has been a great Zoom webinar, and I believe that many people have been enlightened by today's program. This is all we can take for today, but just before we go, we'd like all our panelists to please, in 2 minutes, say their final thoughts and words. if there's still something they just want to say that they've not been able to say in 2 minutes, can you please say your last thoughts to those out there? Lawyer Shekun, please, can you start? And then Pastor Enefa, and then Lawyer Ugenyi, and then Barrister Okelo, in that order.
Thank you, moderator. Before I go on, I want to quickly add to the question about O visa. Somebody asked if O visa could be self-sponsored. Well, as we have said all along, that every situation is different. Immigration is not a one-cap-fits-all. In some situations, somebody who is eligible for O visa may actually be eligible for EB3. If you meet the requirement of O visa, it is likely, I'm not saying it is certain, it is likely. So you may want to look into that. It is likely that you may be eligible for EB3. But again, my advice would be to consult an experienced immigration attorney who can look at your specific situation to determine your eligibility. Immigration, again, is a complex thing. And from my experience, I've seen people make very, very simple and innocent error that created a lot of problems. For example, somebody, a church was planning to petition R1 for one of their members. For some reasons, they filed I-360 instead of filing I-129. At the end of the day, that person is out of status right now. That is something very minor. Just filing the wrong form created a major problem. So it is very, very advisable that you consult with an experienced immigration attorney before you take steps. God will help us. And I want to use this opportunity to thank the organizers of this program. It's been a privilege to be part of this. Thank you, and keep the good work.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate it. Pastor Enefa, over to you.
Thank you. Once again, I want to echo what Pastor Sheko has said about the organization of the program. Thank you so very much. Whatever questions we've been unable to answer, we want to encourage you to call privately or speak with an immigration attorney so that they can answer your questions specifically. Now, I want to also advise in the same vein that a lot of people want to save money, and so they won't consult a lawyer, and they would go ahead and go online and read how to file for so and so, and then they try and follow the steps until, like Pastor Sheko has said, they get into trouble because they did the wrong thing. I remember a very good friend of mine who is a top-ranking physician, and he went and filed a document for himself. So I was trying to explain to him to say, sir, how would you feel if I told you that I had appendicitis and I went to look at YouTube video on how to operate on someone who has appendicitis, and I operated on myself? So he started to laugh because he realized the foolishness of doing these things personally. Try and start off with a lawyer. You will save yourself a lot of headache in the future. Most lawyers will work with you and give you a payment plan or something, but I encourage everyone, talk to a lawyer first before you file anything. And once again, thank you, my moderators. Thank you so very much. The good Lord bless you. Pastor Adem, the oil on your head will never run dry. And for my colleagues, thank you so very much. I will be calling you because there are some initiatives that the church is trying to do concerning legal representation all over the country. So please, if you see my call, pick it up. God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Pastor Nefa. Lawyer Ugenyi, please go ahead.
Praise God. So thank you so much, Pastor Fumi. Thank you. I also appreciate my colleagues. I think one final thought I want to leave with everyone is, as best as you can, don't give fraudulent documents to CIS. There's a veiling situation with a lot of Nigerian divorces now because those documents were fraudulently obtained. Please make sure you tell your attorney the truth, and so that you don't submit that documentation. Divorces can be obtained here. And if you do get the notice of intent to deny, please do speak to an attorney, and they would be able to guide you. And I want to say thank you again to Pastor Fumi and the moderators, and also, thank all my colleagues. I also, as a participant, have learned a lot. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you so very much, Ma. Lawyer Okello, please go ahead. You are muted, sir. You are muted.
I too would like to thank the panelists and my colleagues. I've learned a lot, and I would also like to echo what almost all of you have said. Please, immigration law is very, very complex. It's very complex. You can't just read it on the internet or from your friends. Please consult. It will save you money in the future. Most of the issues that we have are people who have made a mistake and now they have to pay a lot of money. Some of them do not have any pathway to legalization because they made a mistake. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everybody, for joining this session today. We appreciate you for the time. We wish we can take longer time because we have so many more questions coming in right now. I think more people are just getting to know about this session and they're just joining. We really apologize for this. And we hope in the future, we're planning for another session in the future, so we would reach out and let you know when we will be doing this information session. Right now, I would be inviting Dr. Fumi to round up today. I want to appreciate the organizers, Hope for You, everybody that has contributed to the session today, and thank you so much. Over to you, Pastor Stephen, before we bring Pastor Fumi in.
Thank you from my end. It's been nice moderating on this Zoom meeting. And Pastor Fumi will close the meeting for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Deacon Femi that we cannot see, and Stafola Shade that is helping us on Facebook. Thank you so much to all our panelists. This is great. Our moderators, you did great. And I'm very happy that you are part of what the Lord is doing, to help and to assist his people. By God's grace, you wonder, how did Hope for You get into this? We have our the session of our organization of our operations in advocacy and social policy. By God's grace, we partner with various organizations to go to Capitol Hill twice a year to advocate on issues, on immigration issues, on global nutrition, healthcare issues, different issues that also affect the immigrant community. So that is why, you see us doing this. And with what we have seen today, this means this is the beginning of this kind of a webinar on immigration issues. We'll be bringing more to you very, very soon. By God's grace, we are going to have a webinar on April the 24th, just as we have mentioned. It's going to be a Saturday, the last Saturday of this month, on the issue of mental health. You will see that since pandemic started, a lot has happened all over the world. And it's our duty. We believe that if we are helping the community, we should be able to bring something on how you can guard and how you can protect your mental health. We are going to have experts in this area. So if you have any questions also, come and listen to them. So I want to thank God also once again for our the chairman of RCCG, the Americas, in form of Pastor Dr. James Fadel, who started O4U in 2014. Since then, we've been making progress, and the Lord will help us. So for us to do more, we need your support, we need your help, we need your donation in any way, in any form. And even if you want to volunteer your time, you want to, one area or the other that you want for you to be involved in, just give us a call. And for all these lawyers today, I know because they cannot answer all your questions, we have already spent 2 hours. So for all these lawyers today, if you want to reach them, we have 1-800 number here. Let me quickly call that number for you. Get your pen. You can still go on YouTube. You will still see this program available for you on YouTube. You have, you go on YouTube, you go on Facebook, you will see them there. So the telephone number, they will project it, is 1-844-283-4673. 1-844-283-4673. And or you contact 9033-086288. Okay, thank you. They have already, showing it. So if you want to donate to O4U, when you make your call, please, because we've already just gotten this 1-800, we will want to plead with you also, to donate, no matter how small it is. But anytime you call, because somebody will be there to answer your call. And if we are not there, leave a message for us. Within 24 hours, we will call you back and we will connect you to the right lawyer. So our telephone number, okay, if you want to donate, we have it on Zelle, info@o4u.org or o4u.org/donation. Go to our website anytime, any moment. If you have any question, we have a location there where you can ask your questions, and you want to donate, just go to our website. And don't forget, when you get to YouTube, please subscribe to O4U. And as you do this, O4U will be able to do more. By God's grace, we are doing this thing globally. And when we are doing the mental health, it's also going to be a global program. So we are going to bring more in to you as much as you donate and you help us to be able to do more. I want to say thank you to everybody once again, and all the participants. Please forgive us if you cannot get to your questions. We've already spent 2 hours. Thank you so much. Just give us a call. Don't call during the weekend now. Call us on Monday. Or if you want to call weekend, just leave your message. By Monday morning, we'll be getting back to you. Thank you so much, and God bless. So if there's no other thing to add to it, let me just wait for a second. Anything I miss out, anything you want to add before we offer a word of prayers to round up? Anything to add?
No, ma'am, you're good, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's just close in prayers. Thank you so much, Father, because you really helped us today as we remember your death and your resurrection on the cross of Calvary. We know we have done what you want us to do, to be part of the lives of your people, to provide knowledge. And as we have learned today, we pray that you help all our lawyers, you bless them as they have blessed your people. And as your people have learned today, you will help us to do the right thing. We bless you, we worship you, because we know your death on the cross of Calvary is not going to be in vain. And we know as men that are here to surrender their lives to you, they will come to Jesus and be blessed. In Jesus' name, we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma. We really appreciate you all. Have a nice and wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Here at the Hope for You, we helped her to move forward after years of living in unbearable cold and fear of the worst. We are the community outreach arm of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, North America operations. Our vision is to become the icon of hope for the hopeless, and our mission is to render an excellent version of holistic social services that guarantees hope and self-reliance to the community all over the world. Our programs focus on empowerment, ending poverty, eradicating social injustice, and building healthy communities. See our services in the community. Over 300 RCCG churches nationwide were served with various community services. In 2018, over $5 million worth of products and building materials were given out. We serve Greenville and 17 cities in the Hunt County area. Through Hope for You, RCCG North America Operations offers these programs: feeding and clothing programs, disaster relief and training, leadership training, partnership and community development for RCCG churches, and interagency collaboration. Support us today by making your tax-deductible donation. Contact us through email at info@hopeforyou.org or reach us by phone at 817-897-4623. You can also reach us at our website at www.hopeforyou.org or www.rccgna.org.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Eziashi, and I'm a member of RCCG Household of Faith Arlington. I'm recording this video just to testify, and as a benefactor of World Vision and Hope for You, I was blessed with a brand new dining set as I've just gotten my own place and needed furniture. Just wanted to say thank you guys, and God bless you and greater heights in Jesus' mighty name. Thank you once again. Bye.